calling into the program and ask questions from our guest on the topic of discussion for the day. So once again, welcome to On Record, where every word matters. Now, as we celebrate Nigeria's 64th independence tomorrow, 1st of October, since gaining independence in 1960, Nigeria has faced the challenge of balancing economic growth with environmental sustainability. As Africa's largest economy, Nigeria heavily relies on oil, agriculture, and industrial development. Now, this focus has helped alleviate poverty and improve infrastructure, but has also come at a constant environmental cost. Oil spills, deforestation, and pollution are pressing issues that threaten Nigeria's environment. Urbanization and industrial growth have contributed, to air and water pollution, and particularly in cities like Lagos. Now, the challenge for Nigeria is to continue growing without compromising its environment. Now, this requires adopting policies, promoting sustainable development, investing in clean energy, and enforcing environmental regulations. It also requires examining how industries can operate in a way that protects both the economy and the environment. Balancing these two needs will be the key to Nigeria's future. Now, of course, we will also be talking about how to shift towards a greener economy while still achieving its growth and needs. What steps the government should take to enforce environmental protections without slowing the development, and if the country's economic ambitions can be aligned with global efforts to combat climate change. Now, in a moment, the phone lines will be open. That's 0700 1021 1021, 0700 1021 1021. You can also send WhatsApp messages to 0907 2245 018, 0907 2245 018. We are also live on YouTube and on Facebook, YouTube and on X, rather, formerly known as Twitter. That's at High Impact 102.1 FM. You can also watch us live on High Impact TV on Nikonsat 42 degree East. So we'll take a breather here now, and to return to begin the conversation, please stay tuned.
Do you know bad production can kill a great content idea?
Do you want to have a photo shoot, audio production, or do you need a professional voiceover artist?
Do you simply want unmatched cinematography, video production, or just event coverage, such as weddings, birthdays, or burials?
Or do you need a space for meetings or conferences? All these are possible with High Impact Studios. Don't bring down your creativity, let's help you take it high
and out of this world with our state-of-the-art equipment and first-class studio space.
We give you the quality you deserve at the best rate.
For more details, call 0706 393 5694 or 0915 958 1881. High Impact Studios, the future.
Welcome to the high side of life. Join us every day at High Impact 102.1 FM, your urban lifestyle station.
I just want to be yeah.
High Impact Radio 102.1 FM. The future is now.
Welcome back to On Record, where every word matters on High Impact 102.1 FM. Now, to join the conversation, you can call 0700 1021 1021, 0700 1021 1021, or you can send WhatsApp messages to 0907 224 5018 0907 224 5018. You can also join us live on YouTube and on X at High Impact 102.1 FM, or you can watch us also live on High Impact TV on Iconsat 42 degree east. The topic of the discussion for today is environmental versus economic growth. We're looking at Nigeria's 64-year challenge. And joining us via phone call is Folusho Olakbo. He is a public affairs analyst. Good morning and welcome to On Record.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing well and happy Independence in advance.
Thank you very much. Yes, I wish you the same too. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations to you too. Now, while we look at Nigeria at 64, I mean, the topic for today has a lot to do with our independence. We're talking about environmental versus economic growth. Where have we gotten to since 1960? Now, one of the problems challenging environmental sustainability is urbanization. Places like Lagos, where you have so many estate agents, estate companies building up estates, trying to provide accommodation for people. So the first question is, how can Nigeria grow its economy, of course, without damaging the environment further?
Yes, once again, thank you very much. There seems to be a conflict between environmental protection and economic growth. Environment protection, some people say that we should protect the environment at least for our future. And in doing that, it may conflict with economic development. Let me put this in perspective, excuse me. In the 8th Assembly, Senator Murray Bruce, I remember, proposed a bill, electric car bill, into the Nigerian Senate in the 8th Assembly. And that bill was rejected. Not because electric car was bad, but because Nigeria is a member of oil-producing countries. So the reasoning was that if Nigeria has to support electric cars, then what happens to our fossil fuel? Meaning Nigeria may not be, getting much from our fossil fuel any longer. So you can see the conflict between environmental protection and economic development. From the monies, our income from fossil fuel, our crude, where Nigeria is being developed. In fact, as you know, Nigeria is a monolithic income country. We derive majority of our income from crude oil. So if you are now supporting electric cars, then to that extent, it might mean that I want to say this in our local language, parlance, that we are using our hand to do ourselves. So that is the meaning of that we are not concentrating our interest first before embarking on electric cars. So most of the time there's such conflict between environmental protection and economic development. Now the question is, should we protect our economy, at least for the future of our children? The answer is yes. Then should we do that against by forsaking economic development? No. So the two have to be balanced. And that calls into question again, how many percentage of Nigerian carbon emission to the green to the ozone layer? Yes. How many percent? I think less than 0.something percent, because Nigeria is not a producing country. So you see, government have to look inward first and determine how we can develop our economy, and at least to the extent that it will not unnecessarily, destroy our environment.
What about gas flaring?
Yes, that's why I said gas flaring is one of it. But there are not many produced. There are so, in fact, America, China, and the European countries, especially China, the carbon emission is at around some 19 or 20%. Nigeria is 0 point something percent. So what are you talking about? For instance, I'm not sure as China has is an OPEC country. They don't have crude. I don't think so. So, but this is to show us that these countries are, developing in a rapid way. Because in a way, for instance, we have coal in Nigeria, but we do not produce it. It's just lying fallow there. China produces coal and they use it for their electricity, as one of the sources of their electricity. So those countries, emit more carbon emission to the ozone layer than any other person, including Nigeria. So it will be unnecessary excuse for Nigeria to say because they want to protect their economy, they do not want to develop. I think the two must go together and ensure that at least there is a balance between environmental protection and economic development. Because economic development has to do with the welfare and security of the people. And that is the reason for governance, especially from Section 14 and 16 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. So no government should just deal with levity, the welfare and security of the people, because that is the reason the Nigerian citizens voted them into power in the first place.
All right. Now, the next question to ask is, what role should the government play in balancing economic growth with environmental protection?
You see, fortunately, we have some government agencies that deal with these things. And unfortunately, sometimes, we have been told that the floods, the majority of natural disaster that's happening all over the world today is because of degradation of the environment. And to that extent, for instance, the flood in Borno, could we say that is a degradation of natural of environment? No, because the Borno government has been warned severally that the Alua Dam is faulty, and they did nothing. They raised several committees, several panels to visit the place, and they assured the citizens that all is well when nothing was well. So first thing first, Nigeria has to acknowledge the fact that there are challenges regarding environmental protection, and in fact all over the world, and somehow it's going to have an effect on the Nigerian populace. And so to be proactive, regarding what to do if such a thing happens, like the flood in Kebbi, is it Kebbi now? In Borno and I think Yobe. So government should be able to stand and to withstand whatever force that may, cause a whole lot of damage even to the environment, and making sure that while doing that, it doesn't leave economic development in limbo. Like I said, economic development is the fulcrum, is the reason for which we vote government into power. So, for instance, like I said, governments have several agencies, NESTRIA, NAITI, and a whole lot of them like that, that regulates even extraction and some other industries in Nigeria. We have NIMA too. We have NIMED. NIMED that warned about incoming disaster or rain or flood or whatever. So all these things are there. So government should be serious about them and ensure that they vote enough resources into those places. And secondly, the economic development must, and I repeat, must not be left in limbo. It is the reason government is there. So they have to get people, experts, to be able to do their balancing, what to do, how to do, and how to go by it, so that we don't have any negative effect on the environment.
All right, thank you very much for that. Let's move on. Now, another question I would also like to ask again is, now you said that there's an agency that is supposed to, of course, take care of this environmental protection and whatnot and all that, and of course they have to also work hand in hand with other agencies to ensure that, so how can we ensure this effective synergy? Because one of the things that is also affecting the economy in a way is flooding. I mean, look at Borno now. Look at the Cameroon Dam that has been opened. 17 states face the risk of being flooded, and this would also affect the economy. Talking about crops, talking about the farms and all that. So how can these agencies, these environmental protection agencies, what can they do to first of all, if possible, prevent these disasters? Because we are used to always planning for disasters, not preventing or trying to prepare ourselves. So how can these agencies, how can they come in to make sure? How can they also work, of course, with maybe the finance economy, the finance ministry, or the agricultural ministry to form an interagency sort of collaboration to make sure that, yes, while we're protecting the environment, we are also boosting the economy?
Yes, that's a very good question, and it's unfortunate to say that the respective Nigerian government, or successful Nigerian government, and even the federating units are very active are more reactive. Let me put it that way. Are more reactive than being proactive. For instance, the Cameroon Dam. What is the name again? Nigerians were warned. When it happened, I think last year or 2 years ago, they have been put on notice by NIMET or NIMA that such a thing might happen. Again, I think last week, Ogun State government was also put on notice that the Oyon Dam, will be released and all that. So rather than Nigerians, or the government of those states preparing or for a way to alleviate, if I thought there are going to be casualties, that may not be much. They go to sleep until when it happens. Then they'll be donating money for them, making, distributing and giving them palliatives. So we see in other countries what they do. For instance, when a disaster when a particular place is being announced as a disaster, that may be prone to a disaster very soon, what the government do is to evacuate majority or almost even all the community from those places, so that they go to a place that is more safer, so that the human casualty may not be much. So what should happen? Every state in this country get ecological fund, I think monthly or thereabout, from the federal government.
Okay.
Most of the time, what the governors do with that money, we don't know. If you can still remember, I think a governor from the Middle Belt, maybe Plateau or Adam, I have forgotten, was sentenced to jail because he tampered with the ecological fund. And I think majority of the governors have a question to answer, even regarding all the incomes, all the allocations that comes to them from ecological fund. So Nigerian government should really be interested in protecting rather than being reactive when it comes to natural disasters, especially because NIMA, Nigeria Emergency Management Agency
yes.
and NIMET, usually forewarned those states. For instance, you said so by yourself that some 21 states have been put on notice in respect of the Cameroon Dam. I've forgotten its name now. Sorry about that. But what are these governors of these states? What are the governors of these states doing to ensure that when it happens, casualties will be lower? So what are the governments? For instance, in Oyo State, I think there is this Ibadan environmental clinic that dredges all the rivers to ensure easy passage. So this year now, you have not heard any news from Oyo State that Oyo State was flooded, there is Omiyale, as they call it, and all that. Why? Because the governor was proactive and he was able to do a whole lot of work regarding that. So let all the other governors, quote, copy from him and use the ecological fund for the purpose for which it was voted, and not to just, I don't know what they use it for anyway, but at least they should channel that money to the purpose for which it was voted. So with that, we see that some of these things will be minimal. And again, secondly, because when it comes to flood, of course, the human, even if they do that, the human casualty may be less. What of the farm? So I think there should be agri insurance, so that at the end of the day, when such a thing happens, the farmers will not just lose totally. At least insurance will come in to at least alleviate their suffering by paying some stipend even to them. So meaning that people should insure their farms. So there should be agri insurance for the farmers, so that at the end of the day, everybody will be the win-win something, because government has been able to do what is expected to do, and the farmers themselves too had insured their farms against natural disaster. So such things should be made to happen in this country. Agri insurance is very necessary in this instance.
All right, thank you very much. Another important question I would like to ask is, how has oil extraction impacted the environment, especially the Niger Delta? I mean, what can be done to fix this permanently? I mean, we have the Niger Delta militants, we have this and that, and we have the Niger Delta Commission. At a point, there was a bit of case going on, which there was a probe. A panel was set up by the House, the National Assembly, to prove that commission and all that. But what can be done, especially in the Niger Delta, to fix this whole thing, this oil extraction, the effects to the environment and all that?
You see, that issue of Niger Delta is another thing entirely. And because of oil spillage, what do they call them? These illegal refineries.
Oil bunkering,
and a whole lot of them happening in those places. And if you remember, when Mr. Buhari came to power in 2015, he promised to clean Ogoni and all those environments, so that the habitat of fish and everything will be safer, even for the animals and even for humans too. Then most of the questions that I ask most of the time is, what happens? How does the people in that places, get drinking water? Something as cheap as drinking water. How did they get it? Because their farmland, their rivers, their whatever has been polluted by oil and by oil producing companies. So government have to be sincere. Government have to be intentional about protecting the environment, especially of the states that lays the golden egg. You see, for instance, the Petroleum Industry Act, voted a huge sum of percentage, I think 20 or 30% of oil income to exploitation of crude in the Chad Basin. Why it voted, I think only 10 or 5% to oil producing states. You can see, you are using the profit of crude to exploit for oil that is not ready. Where you are getting the oil within which you are using to exploit it, you are not taking care of them. You see that sometimes Nigerian government seems to, turn things upside down most of the times. To me, I think what they should have done is to vote a higher percentage for the people of the Niger Delta to be able to clean, to do whatever they want to do to clean the environment, to assist them in all some sort of ways, and at least voted a minimum percentage to exploitation. But no, the opposite was the case. So most of the time, government are not really serious about, and they do not have even the interest of the people in mind when it comes to economic standard to development. So they are not interested. What they are interested in getting money from the Niger Delta and appropriating it to themselves. Because if they do, I think they should have passed such a law, pass such a bill into law. To me, I think that section of that law should be revisited, and the needed thing should be done immediately. So you have to protect the environment that is laying the golden egg, and ensure that even if you are going to prospect in other places, those places will be happier and they will be able to welcome you to prospect, because they know that if such things are found in their places, government will not forsake them and they will take care of them. So I think government should really take care of the Niger Delta.
All right, let's quickly go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue with the program. Stay tuned.
On record.
Every word matters.
Best music.
Wake up,
the best
get
people.
ready to start your day off right with the most exciting breakfast show.
Join us every weekday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. for the best mix of news updates, weather forecasts, trending stories, and fun.
Oh yeah!
Our dynamic hosts, Sarah Owusu Ansa, Olumide Shokoya, and Vivian Oguche will keep you entertained and informed with the latest updates, trending topics, and hilarious banter.
Play exciting games, win amazing prizes, and enjoy special guest interviews. So set your alarm clocks and tune in to High Impact TV for the ultimate breakfast show experience.
Don't miss out on the fun. The Breakfast Cafe, starting your day off right.
High Impact Radio 102.1 FM. The future is now.
Welcome back to On Record, where every word matters, on High Impact 102.1 FM. You can also watch us live on Facebook and, of course, on X, from on Twitter at High Impact 102.1 FM. To join the conversation, you can call 0700 1021 1021, 0700 1021 1021, or you can send WhatsApp messages to 0907 2245 0907 2245 You can also watch us live on High Impact TV on Iconsat 42 degree east. We're still discussing environmental versus economic growth, Nigeria's 64-year challenge, with our guest Folusho Olakbo, a media analyst. Now, another question I would like to ask is, of course, now that with the whole tariff hike in electricity, a lot of people have been looking to solar or wind power and all that. So, and of course, these are examples of renewable energy. Now, so how can renewable energy sources, like solar or wind power, help Nigeria's economy while protecting the environment?
Well, like I said, electric car too is some sort of renewable energy too. It won't emit emit carbon into the ozone layer. And like I told you before, that bill was rejected by the Senate because we belong to oil-producing countries, and income from oil was the major income. And money from oil was the major income we derive in Nigeria. But notwithstanding that, you can see today that it appears there are some electric cars even in Nigeria being used in Nigeria now. And I read that a governor was distributed electric tricycles or tricycles to some of its citizens. So you see, such things are necessary, especially now because they are available. Most homes today in Nigeria are using solar and electricity, because energy from the government source is not available. Even though today the minister for what is it now? The minister in charge said Nigerians enjoy 40%, that 40% of Nigerians enjoy much light.
Yes.
Yes. So to that extent, but that may not be totally true. because there are several millions of Nigerians that do not even have, that are not even connected to electricity, not to talk of enjoying it. So, and the ones that are connected, majorly, most of them have, in fact, majority to have less than 2 hours, 3 hours, or 5 hours a day. So I don't really understand where it's bringing his data from. But of course, there is, what I'm trying to say is that since the government electricity or energy is nowhere to be found, everybody is now their own minister for power. So, and they are generating such thing. So that is a very good way to start. Like I said, the electric cars are in Nigeria and they are working. So it means that before you know what, whether government proposed or passed a law regarding it or not, Nigerians are using it already. So meaning that Nigerians, the CNG buses too.
Yes, I was going to mention that.
So yes, it was part of that. And if government really knows what they are doing, knows their oil, if they are really serious about alternative to crude oil, then they must invest and ensure that at least some of these things are not that expensive for everybody, the commoners, to access. Before, accessing solar was very simple. You can get a 36 inches tele and about 5 bulbs for less than 200,000 naira. Today it's about 800 or thereabout. So I think government should do something to ensure that these things are imported and even being manufactured in Nigeria, because we have the capacity, we have the human capacity. Nigerians can do anything. All you need to do is to have them trained and begin to do this thing in Nigeria, so that the cost of importation will be excluded. So government should be really serious. Government of Nigeria, especially today's government, I think doesn't really interested in human capacity, and that is why they are inflicting. Let me put it that way. School fees are being inflicted, even federal schools too. When you go to a federal university today, there is no way you will not pay school fees of less than 200, of more than 200,000 naira. I'm not sure there is any one of them that is less than 200 now. So you have to look at whether you are really interested in making Nigeria a developed economy, or we were talking about emerging economy, I think last week, and I said emerging economy is just another word, a word to paint a pejorative name of third world. So, and because we are third world, because we do not, the government, the successive government, were not interested in developing Nigeria. So you can see that both economic development and energy and environmental protection goes hand in hand, and it must be balanced to have a proper and well-balanced standard of living in Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much. Now, earlier on, you mentioned that a bill for the renewable energy resources like solar, and that was rejected at the point in the House, and because owing to the fact that we belong to an oil producing, we are part of an oil producing state. So my question now is, what policies and what laws could help Nigeria achieve both economic and environmental protection?
I don't get that one, sorry.
What policies or what laws could be implemented that would help Nigeria achieve, both economic growth and, of course, environmental protection?
You'll be surprised if I tell you there are several laws in Nigeria that could aid that. Several of them, several. But the problem is enforcement. And the problem oftentimes is policy somersault. One government will come and they will say this is what they want to do, another will override it and introduce its own and that, and what suffers the economy. So there are several laws in this country. Like I said, there is NEITI, I've forgotten it now. It's about the extraction industry. We have the Petroleum Industry Act. We have a whole lot of them. that could really, even economic policies too, that could really, ensure or enhance economic development here in Nigeria. But the problem is enforcement. So if government is really ready, then they should go back to these laws and to the various white papers or panel reports on these things. It's there at their shelf, at the Aso Rock, or in governors' offices all over the federation. It is the will to do it now, Olumide, and not the law. The laws are there, but the question is, do we, as a people, or does our government have the will even to do it? That is the question.
So what is negating this will? What is preventing this will to enforce certain already laid down laws?
It's personal interest now. The personal interest of politicians. And that is why I usually tell people that if politicians are fighting, do not join them to fight, because they are each other's in-laws and brothers and brothers in whatever. I don't want to say that on air, but they are each other. They don't fight themselves really. They pretend to be fighting themselves so that their followers will be at loggerhead with each other. So any follower of a politician that is at loggerhead with any other person, to me, I think he must go to Arrow to have his head checked. Because at the end of the day, the politicians are not interested in any Nigerian, any citizen. It is when things are not favoring them, then they will say it's an affront on the citizen, they are robbing the citizen from their which citizen? Citizens that you did not even care for. I beg, let's second this, Jerry.
All right, you have been very brilliant. This is where I think this is a safe place for us to land today's episode of On Record. You have been very brilliant. We do appreciate your thoughts, and of course, we would always love to hear from you every other time.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Olumide.
You're
God
welcome.
Bless you today.
Amen. We have been discussing environmental versus economic growth, Nigeria's 64-year challenge, with Folusho Olakbo, a public affairs analyst, and he has shed so much light on this particular topic, and I hope that you have learned one or two things from listening. This is where we round off the program On Record, where every word matters. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Keep listening to High Impact 102.1 FM. Keep watching High Impact Television, and of course, happy Independence in advance. Until tomorrow, where we'll come again to do this again, I am Olumide Shokoya. Good morning.
On Record.
Every word matters.